some good vittles. So I get some food over here. Hey everyone, we are wrapping up our Midwest road trip with our trip to the biggest park of the three that we visited, Six Flags Great America, right outside of Chicago in Gurnee, Illinois. Here at this park they have a total of 16 coasters, so this will probably be a very coaster heavy video, so if you're not a big coaster fan, we apologize in advance, but we will be looking at other things besides just the coasters. It's just there's so many coasters and so little time, so we're going to pretty much have to make this intro pretty short. I just wanted to mention that this is a sister/twin park to California's Great America, so this double-decker carousel that's behind us, you can find a similar one right there in California's Great America if you live in that area in Northern California. Just 3 days ago, as of when we're filming this video, they opened a brand new coaster, Wrath of Rakshasa, so we're going to take a nice look at that, look at the queue, look at the theming, talk about the ride experience a little bit. So we're really excited to show you that, so let's go check it out. Right off the bat, I wanted to mention that we have had a really great time here. We've ridden a bunch of stuff before we even started to film, so we have had a lot of experience at the park at this time. I wanted to get the negative out of the way. When we first showed up on our first of 2 days here, we were trying to use our physical season pass card instead of our pass on our phone, and we have a Cedar Fair season pass instead of a Six Flags season pass. The parking attendant did not register with the parking attendant that we had that season pass and we had to pay for parking. We went to guest relations to ask for a refund on the parking since our pass includes parking. They refused to give us the refund, so that's kind of a big knock on them. And also, the pass itself wouldn't register for admission to the park, so we had to be given paper comp passes to be able to get into the park. Just to warn you, if you have a physical card for a Cedar Fair season pass and you're planning on coming to this park, just be warned that they may not recognize it. The second day, today, we got the park app. Choose whatever park your season pass is through and get that park's app on your phone and put your season pass on there. And they can scan that at the gate and at the parking lot. And we had no issues doing that today. So yeah, don't use your physical pass. If you have a Cedar Fair pass and plan to come here, make sure you have your park's app and have the pass on your phone. Here's a quick look at the map. The entrance is known as Carousel Plaza. And then they also have Orleans Place and the Mardi Gras section, which are both very similar in my honest opinion. They have the DC Universe on the left-hand side with the Joker coaster, the original Batman B&M inverted coaster, the Flash, and a few other rides. They have the Yukon territory, the County Fair area, which also holds the newest coaster in the park, which we'll talk about a little later, and Metropolis Plaza, Hometown Square, and Southwest territory. So they have several different themed areas, and most of them are very nicely themed. They have all of their coasters and some other thrill rides in really big letters on here, so you can easily find them on the map. As we mentioned in the intro, there is a double-decker carousel as soon as you walk in. It's a sister carousel to the one at California's Great America in Northern California. The other parts of the entrance include the Flags gift shop, a restroom which you might need as soon as you come in, and a bank of lockers. On the other side is where you'll exit the park, but on either side of the exit they have a lost and found and a guest services. So as you would expect from the entrance to a park, you have all of your major amenities right here in the front. Past guest services, we have the first two of many Looney Tunes character displays that we'll see around the park. Got the coyote chasing the Roadrunner. Roadrunner's very oblivious, but I guess he doesn't have to pay attention because the coyote won't catch him anyway. Aside from the carousel, the only other ride near the main entrance is the Sky Trek Tower, which is a rare observation tower. Not many parks have these anymore, but this one is still here. Unfortunately, however, because it's a tower and it goes up so high, it will close due to bad weather and wind, which is the problem we're facing right now. Near the base of the Sky Tower, there is a plaque dedicated to Hank Salemi, who was park president of Six Flags Great America from 2006 until 2021. They have a quote from him on there as well. Here's a closer look at the two-story carousel. It's one of the carousels where you have mostly horses, but you do have scattered other animals as well. You can see a couple of bunnies back there, some ostriches, a deer. I'm not sure. I think the upper level might be all horses. I haven't seen any other animals up there. But there are really two separate queues if you want the lower or the upper level. This down here is for the lower level, and then you have that staircase over here that'll take you up to the upper level of the carousel. The carousel is called the Columbia, and they also have a plaque out in front of that giving you the history of it. Straight ahead you can see the music area of the carousel that would play the classic sounding music, but actually the music that you hear in this area is not coming from the carousel. They play carousel music all throughout the area over the speakers. So the music is actually coming from behind me here rather than the carousel itself. Jen looks like she's having tons of fun on the lower level of the carousel. Tucked away behind the carousel, they have a few posters that highlight the various areas of the park and some of the attractions that can be found in those areas. Here's the one for Orleans Place. Right next to that is Hometown Square. Unfortunately, tucked behind a Dippin' Dots, I wish this Dippin' Dots wasn't located right in this spot, but they have one for Carousel Plaza. Poster for the Yukon territory. A poster for Gotham City Park, if anybody's a DC Comics and Movies fan. And last but not least, a poster for the County Fair area. Which that double Ferris wheel that's featured in the center, I don't believe is here anymore. So I'm not sure how old these posters are, but they must be fairly old. We'll start off leaving the carousel area by going to Hometown Square, which they actually have the name of the area divided by this archway here. Hometown Square is also mentioned on that side, but it's blocked nowadays by a big by a big Coke stand for some reason. I'm not sure why they decided to put that right there. As soon as you enter the area, you're immediately greeted by a gift shop, as any good theme park will do. This one, Victory Lane, is actually where you exit the coaster Maxx Force. Maxx Force is a launch coaster made by S&S. It will launch you in less than 2 seconds to over 70 miles an hour. You immediately go up and into an inversion. It's a very short coaster, but that launch has a lot of punch to it. It's a lot of fun. This coaster I was looking forward to riding since it opened, and now I finally have the opportunity. You can see the final inversion right up here. You actually come from this direction, come up here, flip upside down. Unfortunately, this drop is pretty cool, but there are brakes on the drop, so you actually go really slow down this and go right into the station. It's kind of a weird location for the station that they have to hit you with brakes right here on a drop. So that's a little bit disappointing, but overall the ride's fun. right after the coaster, they have this fun digital screen here welcoming you to Six Flags. The screen's right in front of a railroad track that you walk right under. And then crossing under the railroad track, you come to this bubble tea station themed to a railroad, of course. This is apparently new for 2025 according to the signage. So if you haven't been here yet in 2025, you can check out the bubble tea stand here. That railroad bridge that we just passed under a moment ago, here is the railroad station for it at Hometown Square. Unfortunately, however, the railroad is not available today, so we will not get a look at the track and the course it crosses, which is a shame because you could probably get some great views of the park from that train here. But on the bright side, out in front of the station, they have this singing and dancing Daffy Duck and a singing and dancing Sylvester. Doing a soft shoe routine. Looking at the ground, I assume there used to be some sort of trolley or streetcar that went through here. Apparently it doesn't happen anymore, but there are still the remnants of it in the ground here, reminiscent of Disney. And speaking of reminiscent of Disney, this little storage area here, and right next to that storage area, behind that gazebo there, is a little firehouse. That is also very reminiscent of Disney's Main Street. Firehouse though looks like has a relatively fresh paint job that's looking really good. Following a little trolley car track around, you'll come to the Flash Pass headquarters. The Flash Pass is the skip the line pass at Six Flags parks. However, if you try to go in here, it's really just for people who are trying to add season Flash Pass to their season passes, or for people who have purchased the Flash Pass and who have questions about it. Because if you try to go in there and purchase the Flash Pass just regularly for one day, they'll tell you just go on their Six Flags website or the app and purchase it there. They won't actually sell you a wristband or anything like that. You have to digitally do it. So they're only there for a couple of reasons, and not one of them is to actually sell you the Flash Pass. The Flash Pass at Six Flags parks works a little bit different than your traditional skip the line pass at other parks. They have 3 different tiers that you can purchase. They have the basic tier, which is basically equivalent to you still waiting in line without having to actually wait in line. They'll give you a wait time that is the same amount of time as you would spend waiting in line for a particular ride. And then when that time limit is up, you'll actually go into the Fast Pass line and go board the ride. So you can basically walk around the park as you wait the same amount of time as you would have waiting in the actual queue. They have the premium version, which whatever the wait time is when you make your ride reservation, you have half that time until you can get in line to ride the ride. And then you have the ultimate Flash Pass, which will let you immediately ride any ride that is included in the Flash Pass program, which has most of the coasters and a handful of other flat rides as well. So obviously the less wait you have, the more money the Flash Pass is going to cost you. It's kind of an unusual system, but I don't know, it seems to be working. There are a handful of rides, including Maxx Force, which we just saw, where you have to have the ultimate option of the Flash Pass. They won't let you use premium to get half the wait time. You have to board immediately with the ultimate or not ride in the Flash Pass lane at all. Right next to the Flash Pass building, they have the Grand Music Hall, which there's a sign at the foot of the steps that says Dance Fest performances begin at 11:30. But it doesn't look like this building has been used in quite some time, so I don't know if that's an old sign that they forgot to put away, or if it's just a really old looking building that still has performances inside. I'm not sure. They don't have any show times up at the top where it says showtime, so I would assume they're not using this building anymore, at least for the time being. Right directly out in front of the Flash Pass is a giant red Adirondack chair with the Six Flags Great America logo on it. So you can use that as a photo op to show that you were here at Six Flags Great America. And then right across from the Flash Pass building is the Whizzer, a classic Schwarzkopf coaster with a very interesting and unique lift hill. It's also an Ace roller coaster landmark. They put a sign out in front all the way back in August of 2012 certifying this as a landmark. We'll see if we can get a good look at the really unusual lift hill in a minute. This isn't the greatest shot of the hill, but you can kind of see a little spiral right here through the trees. The coaster leaves the station and goes in a circle all the way up this about 4 times until they reach the top, and then they start going through the course of the coaster. It gives you a great view of the park from above. It's a little bit fun. As we start to make our way into the county fair area, here are another couple of characters, Sylvester and Tweety. Sylvester's clearly thinking up a plan to capture Tweety out of that cage. From here you can either go deeper into the county fair area or you can go over to the Southwest Territory. For now we're going to continue into the county fair. You can already see there are tons of carnival style games in this area. This is only a small fraction of what we're about to see. The first aid station is, interestingly enough, in this little one-room schoolhouse looking building. It's under this big archway that definitely used to have something written on it. It looks like it says Hometown Fair? Or Park. Hometown Park, that's what it says. It used to say Hometown Park up here, no longer says that. And then a second set of pillars that's missing the overarching sign. But it does have the Six Flags Great America 40 Seasons of Thrills commemorative plaque on here. And beyond that is the first of many, many kiddie areas of this park. The Hometown Park area, I guess, has these 3 little kiddie rides back here. And here we come to the newest ride in the park, Wrath of Rakshasa, a B&M dive coaster. They just opened this recently, and everything still looks nice and fresh and new here. They have these big posters outside the queue entrance talking about the Ornelas Brothers presents Dive into the awe-inspiring world of the Rakshasa. Dare to feel the power as you come face to face with the Rakshasa. And discover an exhibit of rare artifacts depicting the Rakshasa. The traveling exhibition, as the storyline is about, is brought to you by the Ornelas Brothers, which we were looking up to try to figure out the significance of the Ornelas Brothers. The only thing that we could find out was there is a dive bar in the city of Chicago that was owned by someone with the last name Ornelas that is a really famous bar that the original Ornelas, the owner, recently passed away, and now from what we could find it looks like his sons took the bar over for him. That little bit of information was the only thing we could really find related to that last name, so we're not sure if that's a hat tip to him or if the last name was chosen randomly or what. I'm not sure what the significance of Ornelas is if that's not the reason why. Up above the posters they have some fun Rakshasa ornamentation. Funnily enough, they have light bulbs stuck into the heads of the Rakshasa. I'm sure those demons would appreciate knowing that. They also have these nice big Rakshasa statues as you pass by, as you first enter the queue. As we'll see later, they do have drop boxes up there for your stuff up at the station, but if you feel more comfortable putting them in a locker, they have a bank of lockers right here, right by those Rakshasa statues that we saw earlier, but obviously outside the queue. The centerpiece of the queue is this giant statue of a Rakshasa in a giant crate. According to the lore of the ride that we'll see in a little bit, this statue supposedly houses the spirit of one of the Rakshasa. It's on display as part of an art exhibition, which is basically the storyline of this ride. The statue's backlit with an eerie red light. Here's a quick look at some of the information boards that were in the queue for Wrath of Rakshasa. These give some background on the lore behind what a Rakshasa is and what they did, what they looked like. I think we got all of them except for one, and we only missed that one because the queue never wrapped around back toward it when we were actually in line for it. It's nice to see this level of theming at a Six Flags. I really enjoyed reading these boards while we were waiting for the line to move. You can see some signs of damage done to the station by the Rakshasa. Slashes here, broken pillar up there, which looks like a marble pillar. Some more slashes back there in the queue, or in the station I should say. Interesting to note that there's a sign in the queue that says, no special requests are waiting for row 1. This is a dive coaster. A lot of people want row 1 on here. It seems like the wrong coaster to not let you be able to choose your row. More destroyed pillars as you get a closer look at the station. Also noteworthy, moving up above there, the drop boxes actually are on a conveyor belt. You drop your stuff off as you're boarding the train and you can pick them up on the other side after you get off. I really like that some coasters have been doing that recently. Also beyond the track, it's a little bit difficult to see, but some more slash marks up on the roof of the station as well. There's a better look at those slashes up on the roof up top there. The station also has some of these ancient looking tapestries of some Rakshasa up here as well. And as you're exiting the queue, a few more slashes on the wall that you can't see when you're waiting in line to ride. As you come to the exit for the exit queue, you'll come to this open doorway, which looks like it's still under construction. I'm not going to walk fully in here. I just want to take a quick look around. We assume this is where you'll be able to pick up your picture once it's fully finished, and also probably most likely some merchandise. Interesting, it's still under construction even though the ride is already open. It's cool that they have it wide open here to peek into though. There's also like a connecting workroom of sorts where the door was open, so just a quick peek in there just because you won't see that too often. Right across from Wrath of Rakshasa, you can see some of its track in the shot, is an old era looper known as Demon. The entrance to Demon would be right here, but you see it's blocked off. They're doing some landscaping work over here. Apparently I've been told that Demon hasn't been running all season so far because they are doing the landscaping work, just finishing up the final touches on Wrath of Rakshasa. So unfortunately we're going to miss out on Demon on this visit, but it's going to reopen. They're not closing it down because it is still on the park map. But here's just a general look at the Demon track. Comes up the lift hill, goes down a drop into a loop. It's got a couple of loops, couple of corkscrews, pretty standard era looper stuff. But it's still a shame that it won't be open while we're here. You can actually get some real good views of the Demon track around here as it turns around in this area. It's really a shame we won't get to ride Demon because on our one and only visit to California's Great America, the one coaster that we missed riding there was also their Demon, which was down at the time. So we've missed both Demons because they were both down when we visited. I feel like we're a jinx. And then we come to X-Flight, which is a B&M wing coaster. The first drop on this coaster reminds me a lot of a smaller version of Gatekeeper at Cedar Point, this wing over drop here. You just flip onto your side and then fall all the way back down to the ground and back up. Wing coasters are fun because you really get to ride them twice, the left and the right, offer different experiences since you sit on opposite sides of the track. This coaster also has a couple of really good head chopping elements, which is what you want on a wing coaster. We'll take a look at those in just a minute. You go on your side through the air traffic control tower here, and then a little bit later, once you pass through the air traffic control tower, you go down, almost hitting the ground, going through this airline hangar here. Sorry, I had my elements backwards. It should have been the hangar and then the control tower. This is what it should have sounded like. Right across from the entrance to X-Flight is a little county fair food court where you can find a tap house for some beer, some blue ribbon turkey legs, a thrill burger, an American doghouse, and the favorites of Six Flags, the Macho Nacho Chopsticks and Primo's Pizzeria. Those are all staples there, those last three. That's my kind of eating place. Even though we didn't eat here on this trip, this is the kind of place I would like to eat. Out in front of the air traffic control tower of X-Flight, there's a stage for a show called Mix It Up. They list 2 show times on here, but we haven't seen any activity over in this area since we've been here, so I'm not sure if this show is actually going on this week or not, but they have the setup here. I'm sure it's just a DJ, some loud music and dancing over here. We saw some games when we first came into the county fair area, but get ready for Game-a-Palooza. Over here, there is technically an insane number of games. There's only like 4 or 5 out here on the main midway, but all around here where you see the winner signs, those you can tell were at one time games. They still have the balloon popping game on the end, but all of these, I'm 99% sure, were each probably games at one time that they closed down. They have a cotton candy / popcorn place here, but then more winner signs here as well. So at one point I'm thinking this was an insane amount of games, more than I've ever seen at any park ever. I can't believe they have all this space in here for games. These pendulum frisbee rides are some of my favorite flat rides. Here they have a nice big one here known as the Sky Striker. This one goes way up, almost completely turning people upside down when that's at its full height. It's not the world's tallest, but it is a really big one. Really fun as well. It gets a very, very long line to be a flat ride. Right next to that is American Eagle, which I'm sure you've probably seen American Eagle in the background of some of our shots during this video. It's this big white wooden coaster over here. And I would have to say that American Eagle might have been the biggest surprise for a coaster on this trip. It looks kind of like Racer at Kings Island, Racer 75 at Kings Dominion. It even starts off similarly with a few camelbacks going off in the distance, but then right when you think it's going to turn around like Racer does, it hits this gigantic helix like I've never seen before on a wooden coaster, and you just build speed and build speed and build speed, and then you hit some crazy airtime hills. It's just way more to that coaster than I was expecting. It's really long. And speaking of length, the queue to get to the coaster is also really long, including you going across a bridge, across a road. So it's kind of strange that you have to cross a long road to get over to the coaster. But it's worth it. It's a really fun, exciting ride. Right past American Eagle and Sky Striker is yet another little kids area. This one is really nicely themed, but it's known as Kidzopolis. It's got this little archway as you walk into it. I just wanted to make mention of the archway because it looks very, very similar to Seuss Landing at Kings Island. I'm sure that they were inspired by Seuss Landing when they built this archway here. There's also a second Johnny Rockets over in this area, so if one wasn't good enough for you, now you have your choice of 2. And then here we come to the park's RMC coaster, Goliath, where you are taking on Goliath as the role of David here. There's a 180-foot drop here, a 165-foot lift hill, but a 180-foot drop, so the drop is actually longer than the lift hill is tall. Has some really exciting elements, a little bit on the short side, but it's a fun ride. It's the 6th coaster that RMC ever made, and only the 2nd one that ever used topper track. So it's a pretty old coaster. It's starting to get slightly rough, nothing significant, but for its age, it's still in really good shape. Love the facade of the coaster, the Greek architecture here.
There we go.
Goliath does have one of my favorite merchandise designs. This shirt here, the scared person with their tongue hanging out. They have that for $21.99. They also have some other Goliath merchandise. It's the standard logo though. It doesn't have the funny guy on any of this other glassware.
My face is stuck in a smile.
But they do also have that design in gray sweatshirt form. Also wanted to point out this flat ride across from Goliath, Fiddler's Fling, which is similar to the one we saw at Holiday World if you caught that video. It is essentially a scrambler, but you're on a little spinning plate, so you're spinning in multiple different directions here. It's a fun little ride. It's nice that they have this here. You don't see too many of them, despite us seeing 2 on this trip in 3 parks. The Southwest Territory has a really fun little facade here. Has a big Alamo up there. After passing by a whole bunch of game booths, you come to a Daffy Duck holding a can of Krylon. Then beyond Daffy is another railroad bridge that you pass underneath. A former entrance to Hurricane Harbor is in the area, but now they have a big sign on the gates there asking you to enter through the main gate or the Hurricane Harbor located in the parking lot to get there. Right past that sign is the entrance to Viper, the wooden coaster. It is supposedly a mirror image of the Coney Island Cyclone, and although we actually live closer to Coney Island than we do to Six Flags Great America, we've never ridden the Coney Island Cyclone, so we can't really compare it. But we did ride this one, thought it was a lot of fun. A little bit on the short side, but it had some good airtime, and half of the track is actually inside of the structure itself, so really there's a lot of head chopping elements in there. It's a lot of fun, and I really like the ride sign. The theming reminds me a little bit of Copperhead Strike. It looks like they were actually warning about snakes as a front for making alcohol. Interestingly enough, they have these little turtles in the sidewalk leading you to Hurricane Harbor. And then going to what I assume was once a fountain that's covered up now and not running. Really big fan of the theming of this area in the Southwest Territory. They do a great job with the architecture of the buildings, making it look like an old west town. The El Mercado souvenir shop has a couple of funny wall displays. They have the cat in here from Pepe Le Pew cartoons, which I still don't remember what her name is, in this window. And then they have the female Tasmanian Devil, which I've never known what her name was. And he has 2 characters you don't really see a whole lot of. Windy City Bar and Grill in the Southwest Territory is where we actually ate on our first day of visiting the park. This is our 2nd day as I'm recording this. The theming inside is really cool. It looks like a big old sports bar with TVs everywhere. Got Dub Bears on the wall over here. The food was decent. They have some burgers and chicken sandwiches and salads and stuff. All kinds of Chicago sports things on the wall here. Also Wisconsin, because apparently this park is right in between Chicago and Milwaukee, so they have Wisconsin and Chicago stuff in here. But the downside is, as of yesterday at least, they were a little bit understaffed and service was pretty slow. When you have limited time in a park, you really don't want to get stuck in a restaurant for too long. The sign advertising the Windy City Sports Bar and Grill has the chicken hawk out in front of it, holding a chicken leg, which is a little bit morbid. I like the signs they have out in front of the restaurant for Illinois. And also the ceiling on the deck upstairs looks like a football field. This whole big building here, themed like the Alamo, houses the ride Chubasco. Certainly there has to be something big and something that has a facade like this, right? Inside this building is this park's teacup ride. So they put a lot of time and effort into the facade for a teacup ride. Now this one does look kind of fun. The back side of the Alamo also has a Greetings from Six Flags painting on here for you to get your photo in front of. Coming around the side of the teacup building, you come to Raging Bull, which is the biggest coaster in the park, a B&M Hypercoaster. And though I'm not really the biggest fan of tall coasters, I prefer inversions, some nice quick inversions to a tall lift hill. This coaster is actually a lot of fun. You get a surprising amount of airtime on here, especially in the back. And it really is like a raging bull trying to whip you out of your seat at all times. Some of those transitions are really shocking. You wouldn't expect to feel the forces that you feel when you feel them. It's a really strange coaster, but a lot of fun. Right past Raging Bull is the park's drop tower, which they just generically call Giant Drop. They have it themed to an ore excavator. Unfortunately, we haven't seen it running all day, either today or yesterday, so I'm not sure how thrilling it is. We won't probably have a chance to ride this, but it looks pretty standard. Though it is fun that they have this display of a minecart falling off the tracks up here by the sign. It's worth mentioning that the pirate ship in this park, known as the River Rocker, is themed to a Native American style canoe. Never seen a pirate ship that looks like this before. It's kind of neat. And then right in between the county fair and the Southwest Territory is the Hall of Justice, randomly. It's away from all the DC stuff out here, kind of in the middle of nowhere. A really strange location to plop it down in. You can tell that these two areas weren't themed to what they are now when this was put here, apparently. The Justice League Battle for Metropolis is a shooting dark ride, but it's a very fancy shooting dark ride. There is a cyborg animatronic in the queue. There are a bunch of screens, a bunch of showrooms. It's kind of reminiscent of Spider-Man or Transformers at Universal Studios, only a little bit low budget because this is a Six Flags after all, but it's actually pretty fancy for a Six Flags.
Lex Luthor and the Joker have teamed up to take control of Metropolis. We're doing everything we can to defend this city of tomorrow. But with Luthor's off-the-charts intellect and the Joker's gifts for chaos and destruction, it hasn't been easy. See, Luthor has used his vast wealth and resources to monitor each member of the Justice League in action and identify our individual weaknesses. Now, Luthor's using those weaknesses against us. Supergirl, the Flash, and Green Lantern have already been captured. Only Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, and I are left to defend Metropolis. That's why we're recruiting brave citizens like you to join us in the battle. Based on intel we've gathered from out in the field, we believe our friends are being held at LexCorp headquarters. We need to break in and rescue them. It's so heavily guarded, it might be the most dangerous place on the planet. With your help, we hope to breach the security, free the captured members of the League, and return the city to order. We'll inoculate you before we send you out to the streets.
Really, Cyborg? Really? You and your team of dimwits are no match for what we have there. Know that half of the the Justice League is out of our hair, we're having a wild time taking over Metropolis. We just can't wait for these victims, volunteers, to come out here and join the party. It'll be a real blast.
Well, would you look at that? The train that isn't running today happens to be coming by right now. At least we can see it. And then that brings us around to the Yukon territory. Coming into the Yukon territory, or the last thing you see before you leave, depending on which way you're going, you come to the Yukon Barbecue Pit Smoke and Grill restaurant, which is where I think we're going to be eating today. The exterior of this restaurant is actually kind of interesting because they feature an outdoor stage here, as well as when the stage is actually open and doing stuff, they have a bunch of booths here for you to get outside food and beverage as well. They also have a little outdoor bar for you to sit at before you even go inside the restaurant. The theming inside the restaurant is really fun. They have this giant moose centerpiece here. Has a red button. I'm curious what this red button does. Let me see. So it plays a little bit of music when you hit the red button. And also around the room they have Maynard the Moose, Merle the Moose, Maisie the Moose. I know the lighting's not great right there. And Maybell the Moose up on the wall. And they also have a model train that circles this Yukon display here. The wall of the restaurant also has some fun decorations, make it look like you're skiing through the Yukon or sledding through the Yukon. In case you forget where you are, they also have nice big signs on the wall showing the Yukon Barbecue Pit logo. They also have some stairs down to a separate bar and dining room that also has a stage, the Snowshoe Tap House stage, which apparently isn't being used right now. I'm not sure which shows are performed on this or when. I haven't seen a schedule. That's kind of disappointing that we aren't catching a show today, but if you come here, maybe you'll get lucky and catch one. They also show some classic Looney Tunes on the TVs in the restaurant for the kiddos. If you've ever eaten at a Mission Barbecue, the menu is a little bit similar to what they offer at Mission Barbecue. They have brisket, which is Carver's choice of cut, pulled pork, pulled chicken, or turkey breast. They also have a smoked chicken Caesar salad, and if you get any of the smoked meat platters we saw on the first TV, it comes with a corn muffin and your choice of side, which the sides are baked mac and cheese, crispy smashed potatoes, smoked baked beans, potato salad, or coleslaw. They also have seasonal desserts. The restaurant also has 3 different barbecue sauces to choose from depending on your flavor preference. They have the spicy barbecue sauce, the mustard barbecue sauce, and the traditional barbecue sauce. I think I'm going to stick with the spicy barbecue sauce. I got the brisket and a side of baked beans. And Jen got the roasted turkey breast with the mac and cheese for our side. And we also got a bottle of water to drink. So all of that together came to a total of $57.62. Jen said that her turkey was very moist and tender, and she really enjoyed the flavor, had a lot of flavor to it. And the barbecue sauce that she put on it, she also chose the spicy barbecue sauce. And the spicy barbecue sauce added a nice kick to it. It really does live up to its spicy name. She said that the mac and cheese was nice and creamy. It does, according to her taste buds at least, it does use a mild cheddar rather than a sharp cheddar. She personally prefers sharp cheddar, so she didn't like it as much as, you know, maybe someone who prefers mild cheddar would, but if you're a mild cheddar fan, you'll probably enjoy the mac and cheese. The hush puppies were a little dry, as hush puppies tend to be, and also a little bit on the oniony side. So if you don't like onion flavor, like I don't really like onion flavor personally, you may not like these that much, but I thought that they were just okay on my side. Jen liked them though. The brisket, since they don't give you a choice between getting a fatty piece or a lean piece, it looks like they give you a little bit of a mix of both. The fatty pieces were really super tender, and the lean pieces were actually also very flavorful. Like I mentioned with Jen's piece of turkey, the spicy barbecue sauce also adds a nice kick to this. It was a good choice, I think, to put the spicy barbecue sauce on the brisket. The baked beans are really sweet, but they're kind of, you know, standard baked beans, nothing really to write home about. Overall, I think I would give the meal a B+. And Jen said that she was giving her food an A-. I almost forgot to mention, we're basically lowering it mostly because of the cost versus the amount of food that you get. There's this kind of random store in the Yukon area called Wizard's Workshop that doesn't really fit the Yukon area at all, selling apparel and fantasy gifts. And then suddenly it got really windy out of nowhere and you could barely hear what I was saying, but basically the point I was trying to make is that the rest of the area is really well themed, including this building we're coming up on called Claim Jumpers. They actually have a go-kart track here, but I haven't really seen anybody driving on it at all since we've been here. Behind the umbrella and tree over there, there's a nice sign that says Welcome to Six Flags Great America. I'll try to get a better angle in a second. But you can also see they have some nice big Taz, Daffy, Porky Pig, and even a Gossamer over there showing off his nails. I bet many of you didn't even know that red thing had a name. That red thing is Gossamer. There we go. Behind Gossamer and Company, that's probably the best look we're going to get at that wall that says Six Flags Great America. Inside of the Yukon area, there's a little sub-area called Camp Cartoon full of kiddie rides, and it's so kiddie-filled that they actually let you know that it's for guests who are under 54 inches tall. Inside of there, you can see a couple of rides here, but the one that I wanted to mention most is back here. Well, these Sprocket rockets is a little kiddie steel coaster here, this white track. It actually goes fairly high for a kiddie coaster. I was surprised to see how high it went. They actually have a sign over here. Well, first they have the actual ride sign, if you were looking for it. But beyond that, at the queue entrance, you can see a sign that says children and adults. All riders must be at least 36 inches tall, but adults have to be accompanied by a child. However, if there's no line for this ride and you go up to the station without a child, you should still be able to ride if you're interested in getting this coaster credit, if you count your credits. The only exception would be if you have a real stickler up there operating the ride, they might not let you ride, but Jen and I were each able to get a ride on this without being told no, so most likely you should be able to ride even without a child. Other than the Sprocket Rockets and Camp Cartoon, the Little Dipper is the only coaster that's in the Yukon Territory area. This classic wooden coaster that was originally at another park in the state of Illinois that closed down, and this park was able to buy this coaster for cheap and put it in here. To be a tiny wooden coaster, it's actually a lot of fun. They actually have a plaque right in front of the Little Dipper that talks about the history of the coaster. Near the Yukon Territory restrooms, here's another somewhat hidden Looney Tunes character. They have Elmer Fudd as a park ranger, the Fudd Patrol, saying, "Please don't feed the rabbit." Next in the Yukon area, you come to the DC Universe. obligatory at Six Flags Parks. You have to have a bunch of DC themed rides. This is actually the less interesting way to come into the DC universe. We'll take a look at the really cool looking archway as we're exiting the DC universe. Coming this way into DC universe, the first ride that you come to is the Flash Vertical Velocity, which is not like the Flash Vertical Velocity that we saw at Six Flags Great Adventure. This one is an impulse coaster where you basically are launched. You're launched forward up this twisted spike here, then you fall down the spike, you're launched again, go backwards up this spike, and then you do it again, forwards, backwards, and then forwards one more time, and then after you go up that spike one last time, you slowly come back into the station. That's the entire ride experience. But that theme fits the Flash pretty well, considering it's all about a speed boost here. Also similar to the ride Possessed at Gurnee Park. They have a couple of cutouts in the area near the Flash of Superman and also of Wonder Woman. These cutouts are about 7 or 8 feet tall. They're really huge. It probably comes as no surprise that the DC Supervillain Swing is a swing ride that's themed to the DC Supervillains. But most importantly, the sign out in front of it is really awesome. They have all these supervillains on here. They have, going from left to right, they have Cheetah, the Riddler, Deathstroke, Darkseid, Harley Quinn, Reverse Flash, Black Manta, and Catwoman. Jen loves Catwoman. There's surprisingly little of Catwoman in this area. I could be mistaken, but I don't believe any other DC area at any other Six Flags park has their log flume in their DC area. But here, this log flume, they themed to, of course, Aquaman. They call it Aquaman Splashdown. Swinging around past the Supervillain swings, you come to this cutout of Batman himself. Jen doing her best bat pose. Right behind her is the obligatory Six Flags Batmobile. This one looks a lot more fun than the one that we saw at Six Flags America. I really like the design of this one. Beyond that, of course, shouldn't be any surprise, we come to Batman the Ride. You enter through Gotham City Park when the ride itself is actually open. Here is the sign for Batman the Ride. The important thing about this particular Batman the Ride, it's actually certified as an ACE roller coaster landmark, and the reason behind that is there are a bunch of Batman the Rides at a bunch of different Six Flags parks, but this one here, Great America, was the very first of all of them. This was the OG, and it was actually made to fit the terrain of this area. So if you ride any other Batman the Rides, they don't exactly fit the terrain as well as this one does. This is fit just for this park. If the line is long enough and winding around, you might come across this little plaque in the queue. Gotham City Park, dedicated to the citizens of Gotham City through the generosity of Bruce Wayne. He likes to pat himself on the back. And of course, like most DC areas of most Six Flags, they have a Joker 4D free spin coaster. Testing it right now, going up. Of course, you go up these humps, back and forth across the coaster, and the flipping is random, so you don't know. You could get one flip, you could get no flips, you could get 10 flips, who knows. So it's always fun because it's always a surprise how flippy the ride is for you. As we're leaving DC Universe from this direction, the backside of the really cool DC Universe sign has all of the villains. There's Black Adam, Harley Quinn, the Riddler, Black Manta on that side. The other side has Catwoman, who I guess is more of an anti-hero, Joker, Reverse Flash, and Cheetah down here. But of course, the front side has all the heroes. Batman, Aquaman, Batgirl tucked away behind this information sign, and Shazam. Other side has Wonder Woman, Superman, Green Lantern, and the Flash. We next cross under this covered bridge here to go into Mardi Gras. This area has a couple of carnival games with the Mardi Gras color scheme and some fleur-de-lis to fit the theming of the area pretty well. They also have this little balloon ride back here that is also Mardi Gras colored. So theming looks pretty good in this area, but it gets a little bit weird up ahead. I should mention that also in the Mardi Gras area is a low sensory space, so if you or anyone you're bringing with you is autistic, come to Mardi Gras. You can go in this building here for some low sensory time. They have these fun little places to stick your head through for a photo op. You can be the king or queen of Mardi Gras. These are actually three-dimensional instead of the little flat boards that you usually stick your head through. Unfortunately, blocked by those is this backdrop, which is actually pretty cool. Mardi Gras, Six Flags Great America. I kind of wish, I get what they were going for, but you can't really see this with the photo op here, so I kind of wish they would have put this elsewhere. Right next to that is also the Mardi Gras stage, which they have all the benches up on the stage. I don't know what usually goes on here. There's no showtimes listed anywhere, so I'm assuming there hasn't been a showtime here in a little while. And of course, because we're at a Six Flags, right next to that is a Johnny Rockets. So if you want your fill of 1950s style burgers, there you go, there's your Johnny Rockets. This wall has a little bit of Mardi Gras theming to it. Mardi Gras colored music notes, a couple of masks. And then you have Cirque Electrique, which has one game on it. These coverings that say winner on them, you can tell there used to be other games there that they've blocked off, much like we saw over in the county fair area. They have a sign advertising Party Gras at 3:15, but they don't specifically say where Party Gras takes place. Is it supposed to be right here? If so, I don't think it's actually happening because we're recording this just after 3:15 and absolutely nothing is going on. So they don't make it clear where this show is or if it still exists. Though there are some interesting things in this window over here, so maybe it's in this building. But I still don't think it's going on today because nobody's even anywhere remotely around this area for a show to be taking place. They have this fun little statue of a jester here with a plaque at the bottom that says Six Flags Great America celebrates Mardi Gras every day, opening spring '04. So this area is now 21 years old. Continuing along, here's another spot where we go along the railroad track. This would be a great view looking down on the park from above. I wish the train was running today. And this is where I was telling you the Mardi Gras area gets weird. Even though we have left the DC Universe area, out here in the Mardi Gras area is Superman Ultimate Flight, which you can see the Lift Hill 4 up here. It's a B&M flying coaster. Similar, actually I think identical to the one that they have at Six Flags Great Adventure. And then on the other side of that is the Dark Knight coaster, which is your traditional Wild Mouse, except that it's indoors and it has a lot of animatronics and characters inside there. It's actually really fun, but it has a slow wait just like most mouse coasters, unfortunately. Both of the two coasters exit into the Heroes gift shop, which Superman's on the left, Batman's on the right, which is why they have these two stand-up figures of Batman and Superman here right outside of the Heroes gift shop. Of course, that is a DC-themed gift shop, so if you're looking for DC merchandise, this is one of several gift shops you can go in to find it. I was excited to see that this park has the Condor ride, which is identical to the Falcon ride that used to be at Hershey Park right near Zoo America. They took this ride out of Hershey Park several years ago, and I'm 99% sure this isn't the exact same one, but it's the same model of ride, and it's kind of neat to see it back here again. It's basically a scrambler, except you're in a cage, and you go all the way up to the top of that tower while you're spinning around. That's a lot of fun. You get a great view of the park. If you're a big fan of bumper cars, you can also find the bumper cars in the Mardi Gras area under the name Rue Le Dodge. There's hardly ever a line for this ride, at least in the little bit of time we've been here, we've hardly ever seen a line for it. But it is available on the Flash Pass. So if you have a Flash Pass, you can still skip the line if you do happen to be here during a time where there is one. Unfortunately, this is closed today, so we can't get a better look at it. But I wanted to show Big Lou's Italian Beef because We really like this sign. Big Blue is a really funny looking character. And as we leave the Mardi Gras area, a couple more hidden characters. A Foghorn Leghorn and a Marvin the Martian. Marvin's got his little controller here about ready to blow up the earth. And then as we walk through this archway, you see we're leaving the Mardi Gras area. You can see the double-decker carousel again, so we're right back to the front of the park. That's the full lap around. Actually, the last area that we exited through was Orleans Place, which is different from Mardi Gras. It's weird that they have two areas with similar theming right near one another. As we close out the day at Six Flags Great America, I believe it's a tradition here that when the park closes for the night, they play this carousel song that they're playing right now. And instead of the expected, that's all folks, you should see as you leave the park, they have a more traditional see you next time up there as you're walking out at the end of the night. So that was a look at the coasters and other rides at Six Flags Great Adventure. Wrath of Rakshasa was a really fun coaster. You know, they talk about dive coasters being one-trick ponies. This one is a little bit more than that. It's not the greatest ride ever made, but in terms of dive coasters, it's really a special ride. It's a lot of fun. It has the steepest drop on a dive coaster, and it also has 4 inversions, which is a lot for a dive coaster as well. And those dive coaster elements are actually pretty intense. Gets up to a good speed, gets some really good airtime, so we really thought it was a lot of fun. It's one of those that doesn't make a U-turn at the top of the lift hill, kind of like Iron Menace, instead of doing the U-turn like Griffin or Sheikah would do. So it makes it a little bit more of a compact layout, which also makes it a little bit shorter of a ride. Most of the coasters at this park, in fact, are pretty short because of a lack of space to build coasters. But they're a lot of fun. The only coasters that really have any real length are Raging Bull, American Eagle, and Whizzer. But those 3 are all really great coasters. And all of the flat rides are a lot of fun here too. There's a little something for everyone, especially with all the little kid areas that they have here. So actually we really enjoyed this park, and with Demon being down, we definitely have an incentive to make our way back to it. Oh, yeah, I think Jen wants me to tell you also the scenery and the theming on Wrath of Rakshasa is really awesome as well. So yeah, they did a great job of the theming in addition to the actual thrill of the ride. So we hope you enjoyed our look at the video. If you did, we'd appreciate it if you give the video a thumbs up. Also subscribe to the channel. Every like and subscribe is a big help to the channel. Also, please be sure to check out our Instagram page, which is appearing right next to the Demon's Horns up there. Right below that is our Threads handle. And then right below Jen is our email address. Please be sure to email us any questions, comments, concerns, constructive criticism. We read them all. We appreciate any feedback that you give. So thanks a lot for watching. Thanks for watching, but the fun's not over yet. Click the box in front of my face for another fun video, or click my tree to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss another video.